We begin this hour with a surprising move from conservative Republicans, one they previously vowed never to take. They have passed a temporary stopgap funding measure extending through the end of September. The final vote tally stood at 217 in favor and 213 against. The bill was approved without objection, and the motion to reconsider was set aside. This marks a major shift for a significant portion of the GOP. Throughout the Biden administration, Republicans have consistently pushed for individual appropriations bills, often criticizing stopgap resolutions like this one as failure theater. The political strategy behind the vote: congressional Republicans are working to eliminate obstacles that stand in the way of making Trump-era tax cuts permanent, reducing federal funding, and enacting Elon Musk's proposed budget cuts. Vice President J.D. Vance urged conservative holdouts to support the short-term resolution, assuring them that a separate bill would later cement these funding reductions permanently. President Trump actively lobbied Republican lawmakers on Monday, personally calling holdouts to encourage a yes vote. The pressure campaign proved successful, with only Kentucky Representative Thomas Massie standing firm in opposition. His defiance was met with a warning. Trump vowed to support a primary challenger against him in the upcoming midterm elections. Democratic response: House Democrats largely opposed the measure, with one exception. Representative Jared Golden of Maine broke ranks and voted alongside Republicans despite objections from his colleagues. Critics argue this measure is part of a broader Republican effort to secure massive tax cuts for billionaires and the wealthy while shifting the financial burden onto working-class Americans. The bill mandates significant budget reductions, including a $1.1 billion cut from Washington, D.C.'s budget, not from federal funds, but from the city's own revenue. Lawmakers warn this could result in underfunded public services, including law enforcement. Next steps in the Senate: the bill now moves to the Senate, where the political landscape differs slightly. With Republicans holding 53 seats, they still require at least 8 Democratic votes for passage. Senator Rand Paul has already signaled his opposition, further complicating Republican efforts. Senate Democrats held a 2-hour strategy meeting earlier today but failed to reach a consensus. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has not yet taken an official stance on the House bill, indicating divisions within the party. Given the looming congressional recess, there may be enough bipartisan support to pass the measure and send it to President Trump's desk before the end of the week. Long-term implications: beyond the short-term spending measure, Republicans are pushing for a broader legislative agenda that includes permanent tax cuts, increased immigration enforcement funding, and potential cuts to Medicaid. One notable provision in the bill slashes $20 billion from the IRS budget, potentially weakening the agency responsible for tax collection. Critics argue that these moves will undermine essential government functions while benefiting the wealthiest Americans. As the GOP accelerates its agenda, many warn that deep budget cuts could have lasting consequences for federal services and social programs. With the political landscape shifting, Americans may soon face the real-world impact of these fiscal policies. The months ahead will reveal how these budget battles shape the future of the country's financial and social landscape.